Today's video, we're covering an exercise that probably almost everyone has seen and that most people do wrong. It's called cats and dogs, or depending on where you live, you might hear it called cat-cows. Now, this has been used in yoga for a long time, but I'm going to be teaching the way that we do it in postural therapy, and we're going to be working on getting a sinusoidal motion between the hips and the head, like a whip almost, or waves. And in postural therapy, what we often use this exercise for is to get the pelvis working in the same on the left side and the right side of the body, as well as propagating changes from a set of exercises from the hips up through the spine to the head. And this sinusoidal wave-like motion is what really propagates those changes. So let's get into cats and dogs, or you might call it cat-cows. Let's talk about cats and dogs. Not this dog here, not Quinn. We're gonna have to ask her to move just a little bit that way. But the hands and knees exercise that we often use in postural therapy for propagating changes from the hips to the upper body. Now, to start with, we want to have our feet relaxed behind us, pointing backwards. We don't want to have these feet curled. That'll be a tendency for a lot of people. Make sure to leave those feet relaxed, those lower legs relaxed. We want to have our hands directly underneath the shoulders, meaning they're not too far forward, they're not too far back. The wrists are directly beneath the shoulders. Now, from here, we're going to start in a position where the shoulder blades are drooped together, the thoracic spine, the upper back is drooped down, and we're looking straight ahead. Notice that the arch in my back is accentuated in this position. My pelvis is an extension as a result. So from here, imagine there's like a little action figure, like a little army man, and he's starting on your very lowest vertebra here. Well, as he gets to each successive vertebra, you want to, gotta get in the right starting position after I move my arm there. As he walks up the spine towards my head, each vertebra is going to raise up like a hill that he has to keep on climbing. And eventually, he gets to the head, and the head is going to droop down. Now, we do the opposite. This is a hip-driven exercise. So each motion starts from the hip. We are kind of like a whip. Imagine if I had a whip and or a chain or a rope along the ground, and I did this. Well, it's going to go up and down, right? And if I keep on doing it, it would just be this constant wave motion. That's really what we're trying to achieve here. And so it looks just like this. Starting here, head out. This is the dog position. And you notice when I get to here that my shoulder blades are protracted, meaning they've come apart, and the upper back is curved. I'm not doing this work with my shoulders, at least not primarily. The primary work is coming from the hips and the pelvis. Once I get this pelvis fully into this roll of the back and the lower arch here, the upper back is going to have to respond in the like. And when I bring it back down, that work again is not coming from the shoulder blades directly. That work is coming from the hips, or it's being driven by the hips, and my shoulders are just responding to what my hips are making them do. Notice that the motion is always, any motion in my upper body is precipitated by the motion in the hips. And that's really it for cats and dogs. I'm going to do it wrong for a minute just to demonstrate a lot of the things we see. So if I'm doing this exercise wrong, I'm just doing this to here, this to here. See how I'm doing all the work in the upper body with my shoulders. It's almost like a hands and knees push-up that I'm doing in this case, because I'm not driving the motion with my hips. I'm doing all of this at the same time. And you should be able to see in the video here, this lacks the sinusoidal motion of that being driven from the hip. Another thing that we see is people trying to doing this rotation of the shoulders, or a shrug and roll of the shoulders here when they're doing the exercise. So I might go like this. See how my upper body is going back and forth, but when I'm doing it properly, there's a big difference between what we're seeing, right? I'm not shifting back and forth over my heels, over my hips, or over my knees. My hips are staying almost completely stationary over the knees. It's just the pelvis that is going into flexion and extension and interacting with the hips in that regard. So that's how you would do cats and dogs wrong. And we want to make sure that we're doing it right, like we discussed at the very beginning of these instructions. I hope you found this video informative and useful. If you did, you can be sure to at least consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell down below, and be notified when videos like